Hello everyone, this is Jotto and welcome to the Hearthstone Weekly Show. Now, for this week we are going to be going over Realz versus Chakki from the latest episode of Fight Night. The other thing was Duckwing Face against Puffin, I do believe. I would implore you to go watch that because, as pretty much all of us know, Duckwing misplayed the Priest deck really badly last time he was on Fight Night. It was mainly up to nerves because if you actually watch the second series, he plays the deck pretty much perfectly, which is what you'd expect from someone maining Priest. He went double up on Priest and he played it almost perfectly and just rolled over his opponent with that deck. So I would recommend you go and see that if you're interested in actually looking at a good Priest player. Now, other news before we actually start. Unleash the Hounds change has come out. It is now 3, not 2. And I wrote my entire opinions about it in the tournament recap article. Actually, it's up on Hearthstone at the moment, so you can go check that out if you like. And I wrote pretty much everything that I thought in there and what it's going to actually change. And ultimately, I predicted, because I wrote it before the actual change happened, even though it aired afterwards, I predicted that Mid-Range Hunter was going to need a revamp to some extent, and Aggro Hunter would not be changed very much. Then I started testing out some Hunter decks post-patch, and so have so many other people, and I was pretty much correct. Mid-Range Hunter is now playing traps, and it works again, and Rush Hunter really wasn't changed at all, because they were never linchpin on Unleash the Hounds. Unleash the Hounds, generally, whenever you used it, you had 1 extra mana. Sometimes no, but generally whenever you did, you had 1 extra mana, and you always relied on things like traps to deal with aggro. Unleash was just sort of an extra set of aggro dealers, and it's still there, it's just a little turn slower, makes the deck slightly less reliable against aggro, but besides that, it didn't change the deck too much. But anyway, on to the actual series. We had Realz and Chakki. Now, this is a very, very interesting series. As usual, I'll put the 3 parts of the video in the description. I'm going to be going over 3 games today, because some of the games were quite quick, so I'm going to be going over 3 different games. One that Realz won, one that Chakki won, and also the final game in the series, as usual. Now, last time Chakki played, he actually beat his opponent in Mana Grind, since he moved over from Mana Grind to Clarity, and he won last season. Now, Realz was on a 3 losing streak, which was, I discovered, a record, basically. Along with Trump and Savage, they went like 1-3, but 3 consecutive losses, so Realz sort of had to fight to actually get this win. Now, the other interesting thing about this is it does prove that even though a deck is not tier 1, it can still do well, as we are going to actually see 2 decks we have not seen on here in a very, very long time, which would be Token Druid. I have not actually done a game with Token Druid yet. I'm going to see a Token Druid game. And we're also going to see a Ramp Druid. Normally, Druid comes up a bit, but whenever I do it, I try to avoid Druid sometimes. I do have it in a lot of my weeklies, but I tend to avoid it because Druid games are very long and boring a lot of the time. But anyway, enough of me babbling. Without further ado, let's get started, shall we? Now, mulligans in this first game at least. We have Shiv, Leroy, Assassins. This is Miracle Rogue. So this is Miracle Rogue and against Druid Ramp by the looks of it. Now, as far as Chakki is concerned, I would mulligan everything apart from the Wrath, just in case this is Tempo Rogue. You could get an Innervate on the Druidal Claw, but it's a little risky. You could keep the Druidal Claw. I think I would mulligan those 3 though. For Realz, I would mulligan the Assassins and the Leroy. He's actually going to mulligan the whole thing. Okay. Like, I can see why you would mulligan the Shiv, although it would cycle out anyway, probably on turn 2. And in Chakki's case, I see why you mulligan the Wrath. The problem is that if you mulligan Wrath against Miracle Rogue, they play SI7 agents and Earthen Ring Farseers. I don't think this version that Realz is playing has Earthen Ring Farseers, but in general they do, so you just get beaten on by a 3-3, and that can lose you the game. I mean, you don't want to take the extra damage they need to do to you before the Leroy combo just from 3-3s. We may see a coin Blood Mage. Blood Mage is kind of useless here. I doubt you'd use coin though for it. I think he's probably going to save the coin for the Druidal Claw. Now, if we look at the actual list, he's playing the Singular Watcher. It's an interesting addition. And as far as Realz is concerned, he's only playing the Singular Conceal. Harvest Golem. I'm not sure if you coin out the Harvest Golem here. Yeah, I think you just go Blood Mage. You want to get that cycling. You just go Blood Mage, next turn Harvest Golem, turn after coin out the Druidal Claw. Yeah, I want to see a 3-3 come down here. Now, the reason he's playing the 3-3 is because he wants to punish Chakki if he mulliganed Wrath. And he did mulligan Wrath, but he got his Wrath again. So we might just see this being Wrath. I think we will actually see this get Wrathed and then next turn coin Druidal Claw. Because while you want Harvest Golem would just die for free, basically. So you have to kill this. I would just Wrath it. You don't want to take any damage. You don't want to take any unnecessary damage before the combo goes off, is the point. Because the Leroy combo does 18 damage. Plus Cold Bloods can do like 22, 26 if it's absolutely maximized. But as far as extra damage goes, they need to rely on their 3-3s and their Gadget Hands and things like that to actually do a little bit of extra damage. Now, Realz is having an issue right now. It's one of the main problems with Miracle is they have turns where they just can't do anything, and this is one of them. Now, Chakki using the coin last turn is going to come back to bite him a little bit. You either go Defender, but I think you want to save Defender. You either go Defender or Harvest Golem. Yeah, I think he's going Defender because he has a second one. If you didn't have the second Defender of Argus in your hand, you don't do that. Because you need the taunts. You really do. You need the taunts against this kind of deck. And it should be treated as such. So Chakki's just going to draw some cards. I mean, not Chakki, Realz. I'm not used to seeing Realz playing Miracle Rogue. I'm used to seeing him play Tempo. He's known for his Tempo lists. He's not known for Miracle. Although Miracle's much more sort of Force N and Kalento's territory. Now, for this turn, I would actually say that Druidal Claw in charge form is the correct play. The other way you could do it is Keeper of the Grove. But Keeper of the Grove is a little better, I think, because you end up with a 2-4 on board instead of a 2-3. Yeah, I think I actually would have preferred the Keeper there. Yeah, I think I would have preferred the Keeper there just because you end up with a 2-4 instead of a 2-3 on board. And you also have both Druidal Claws in hand still. Like, what are you saving the Keeper for? Most likely Loot Hoarder is going to be played here and possibly a Shiv. Shiv, Loot Hoarder, Dagger. That could work. Or Shiv, see what you draw first. Shiv the Face would be an interesting one. Assassin's Blade. We're just going to see Loot Hoarder come out here. Now, normally you don't attack with a dagger in case you draw Deadly Poison, but he's got the Assassin's Blade for the Deadly Poison. So, if he draws Deadly Poison, he's using it on Assassin's Blade. Innervate. Interesting. Now, this is where not having the other way around is coming back to hurt him. Because if he attacks the 2-1, he's going to lose it to the dagger, whereas if he had a 2-4, he wouldn't. And it also means that he would be able to just slam Druidal Claw here, and he would have another one in hand. He's debating going for the cap form. I'm not sure if you can at this point. But the problem is it's weak to sap. Like, it's weak to sap, so you need to play around sap. A little bit of indecision going on here. You have to kill the 2-1. That 4-4 needs to be eviscerated. You're not going to race him, so I would suggest going for a little bit of board control. Because ultimately, if you don't take damage to go down to 18 life, you have 2 turns for him to combo you. Turn 8 and turn 9 instead of just turn 8. So if Realz has a way of clearing the board here, then he's going to punish Chakki quite heavily. Now, we could see a Gadgetzan, but Gadgetzan would just be Shadow Step, so it would be a little awkward. Fan of Knives, I think, is the correct play here to see what you draw. You need something right now, like a Blade Flurry, or Deadly Poison Blade Flurry or something. He needs a Deadly Poison Blade Flurry to really clear this board. Interesting. Well, I mean, the Loot Hoarder cycles if you do it that way, so that's what he's thinking. And because of what he drew, that's actually the exact correct play. That's interesting. So now you just go Gadgetzan Conceal, I'd say. Set up comboing off the next turn. Yeah, I would say Gadgetzan Conceal. You can go Assassin's Blade, but it's a little awkward to go Assassin's Blade here. It might just be better to draw a lot of cards. He's going for the Assassin's Blade. I think it's also not mana efficient. I think I would have definitely gone for the Gadgetzan Conceal. Is he playing around Innervate, Force of Nature, Savage Roar? I guess, but he's already using Innervate. Like, the chances of him having that combo is incredibly, incredibly small. So now Chakki has to think, is he dead the next turn? So he's going to go for the Yeti. So, I mean, if he was lower on life, he'd probably go for the BGH into Defender of Argus, just so he isn't dead on board from the combo. Yeah, and this is where not playing that Gadgetzan was coming back to hurt him, because he would have Gadgetzan on board now. So now he's going to conceal him. Yeah, Conceal's going to come out now. Is he going to Preparation Fan of Knives? I think Preparation Fan of Knives is actually better because you need to draw 3 cards, not 1. So we're probably going to see a Preparation Fan of Knives instead of a Backstab to kill this thing. Simply because you want to get deeper into your deck. You need the Leroy to win. You need to get much deeper into your deck. You may even have to backstab your own stuff. There's the Leroy. Alright, so if he played the backstab, he wouldn't have had the Leroy combo next turn. That's well played. Now, Chakki has to get taunts up. He really does. He needs to chill. I'd say chill wind defender. He needs to get a taunt up that's sizable. Yeah, he's going for it. Flurry would be a very good draw here. He's most likely going to go for Deadly Poison first. Or Backstab first is even better, actually. Because, well, then if you draw the Spell Power Flurry, it's a little waste of damage. And then Deadly Poison or a second Backstab. Does he he's trying to kill him, but if he hadn't played the Backstab, then he would have had the Spell Power Backstab. Because he would have played Deadly Poison. He has to play Deadly Poison to draw a card here. Like, that's a definite. Eviscerate is a godsend here as far as he's concerned. Yeah, he misplayed it though. Like, he misplayed slightly. If he'd played the Deadly Poison first, he could have drawn Blood Mage and then backstabbed the 2-3, and there would be nothing on the board right now. Now, this is when you probably just play Cold Blood. Play Cold Blood, then Loot Hoarder, then Cleave. Or SI7. Can you afford to go SI7? Oh, he drew the Blade Flurry. Alright, that's a big deal. He can attack face, Blade Flurry. Should be Blade Flurrying first, see what you draw. Yeah, attack first, Blade Flurry, Edwin Van Cleef. This is why Van Cleef is in the deck. It's a secondary win condition. Besides the Leroy Jenkins combination, it's a secondary win condition. So we're probably just going to see the Flurry come out here. If he SI7s it, he's passing up a big... I guess he's trying to get past taunts, but there's 2 Druid Claws gone. There's 2 Druid Claws gone. He should just be going for it. Like, guarantee the win next turn. And even if it's Druid Claw, even if it's Ancient of War, for example, if he goes for the giant Edwin Van Cleef, then it will just smash straight into the Druid Claw. How many cards has he played this turn? 2 Backstabs, Deadly Poison, 3, Gadgetzan. No, Gadgetzan was last turn. Cold Blood. Yeah, he's gonna go for it. Blade Flurry. That's a ridiculous amount of cards. This is gonna be probably a 12, 12, 14, 14, I should imagine. I didn't count cards. Yeah, 14. I didn't count cards, which is what you normally do when you're playing Miracle, is you count the number of cards you have. It's like a storm stack for people who play Magic. Now, we're going to see an actual board clear here, which is quite important. Although, he's still dead. Like, he's dead to the Leroy combination, he knows it. It's because he played the Druid of the Claws early, he's just going to concede. There's no way he's not dead. So, I mean, this is the penalty of being aggressive with your Druid of the Claws early, as opposed to trying to just stall out the game. So, as far as I'm concerned, it was probably better just to focus more on a taunt-based game. You're not going to kill him before turn 8. You can't kill him before he combos you, so don't try. Like, that's the way I see it. Don't put your Druid of Claws in aggressive. You should have played Keeper of the Grove. Keeper of the Grove ended up being good at the end, but it was very fringe, and he would have had a much, much better early game if he had just gone for the Druid of Claws. Like, the chances of him facing that were probably lower than the chances of him actually getting a second silence. So I think I would have just gone for the Keeper of the Grove play early and then used your Druid of Claws as taunts, which you really need against Miracle. Anyway, since we're going over 3 games, I'm going to quickly go into the second game. Now, starting off with Mulligan's second game, so Chakki switched to the Miracle Rogue counter deck, also known as Hunter. Now, Hunter is incredibly good against the old Miracle decks. Now, nowadays, Earthen Ring Farseers and SI7s come out really early, and they mess up Hunters. They really do. SI7 and Earthen Ring Farseers, just 3/3s in general, are very, very difficult to deal with Hunter. But this version that Realz is playing does not have the Earthen Rings. Earthen Rings was kind of an innovation by Forsen. Or whether it was an innovation by him is irrelevant, but it was popularized by Forsen in his Malagod Miracle deck, which plays Malagos instead of Leroy. So he was playing Earthen Ring Farseers to give him a better matchup against Hunters, which makes sense because it's a very, very good card against Hunters. They can't deal with 3/3s, and it actually can buy you a turn sometimes, which is enough to kill them. So anyway, as far as mulligans go, for Realz, I think you just keep the hand. Like, I don't know, you mulligan the sap. The sap is really, really bad early game. You'll find out if it's mid-range later, but then if it's mid-range, which it definitely isn't because it's Chakki, then sap is good, but it's Chakki, so you just mulligan the sap and maybe the Blood Mage. I don't think you mulligan the Blood Mage, actually. Just the sap. As far as Chakki is concerned, I'd mulligan pretty much the whole hand. I think I would mulligan the entire hand. You need action early game. You need Wolf Riders. You need Arcane Golems. Not so much Arcane Golems. They're more finishers. But you need your Wolf Riders. You really need your bows. Things like that. You need early 3-drops that can actually do damage. The aim of the game for Chakki's deck is to kill the Miracle Rogue by turn 8. If they kill the Miracle Rogue by turn 8, then it wins the game. Chakki has a really bad opening hand, whereas I think Realz has a fairly good opening hand. Interestingly, he mulliganed everything, including the Gadgetzan. Did he keep the sap? I think he got the sap back. But he mulliganed everything, and if he kept the sap, I think that was a mistake. But the Gadget Stand, I can see why you'd mulligan the Gadget Stand, but you need card draw on turn 5 or 6 just to make sure you get your Earthen Ring Farseers, if you are playing them, obviously, which he isn't. But just ways of dealing with charge minions. Even things like SI7s and Shivs and just Fan of Knives and things like that, you need to get these early. So I definitely don't agree with the mulligan of the Shiv, which he ended up getting back, and it's going to really help him. But the mulligan of the Shiv was a bit of a mistake. Now, Chakki's practically playing off the top of the deck at the moment. Leok is also the worst one he could have got here. This is going to get backstabbed. You definitely want to clear Leok. You want to clear pretty much everything against this deck. Interesting. He's going to take 2. This is risky. This is really risky. Taking 2 is a lot more relevant than you'd think. But this is really risky. If he walks into a misdirect here, he's just going to get burnt. Tracking. Misdirect would be crazy. Oh, you actually might take the tracking here. This is really, really bad for Chakki. I think you either take the Leper Gnome, the Miracle Gnome, or you take the tracking, and I think you actually take the tracking and try again. Yeah, you can see he's really mulling this over. He does not. You never want to take a tracking from a tracking, but in this case, I think you do. You need an answer to this stupid thing. He's not even going to risk it. Yeah, he's skill commanding it, or kill commanding it. This is one of the best possible openings for Realz against this deck. One of the best possible. So he should not lose this game. If I recall correctly, though, he actually does. Maybe I made a mistake. It's not the first time I made a mistake when selecting matches, but I don't think he wins this game, but I can't seem to figure out how. Because I've played a lot of the Hunter deck, and I played a lot of different decks, but I played a lot of the Hunter deck, and this is one of the worst possible starts. You can't even go Arcane Golem because you want to save Arcane Golem for a finisher. Wolf Rider, I think, is the best card here. You need to pick up that Wolf Rider. I think you might even Hero Power this turn and then Wolf Rider Hero Power next turn. He's debating the Unleash. The problem with taking Unleash, I mean, this is the old Unleash the Hounds at 2, but even then I think that the Wolf Rider is in fact better. Unleash the Hounds is not the end-all be-all of cards, which a lot of people think it is. It is, I mean, he has the Buzzard in hand, which is the only logical reason I can think he's taking that, and also the double Hunter's Mark. So it's the kind of thing where if he didn't have the Buzzard or double Hunter's Mark, if he only had the single one, I wouldn't have taken the Unleash there. I wouldn't have even like mulled it over, because it's not a good card in some matchups, even though it is seen by some as being the single best card in the deck, and you always take it over everything else, and it's just always good. It really isn't always good. If you actually play with Unleash, it does some really, really broken things sometimes, but sometimes it's just a dead card. Or not dead, but just really weird. Although it did need a nerf. It did need a nerf, though. I'm not saying it didn't need a nerf, I'm just saying that it was one of the most overhyped cards in the metagame. Now, for this turn, I think we are just going to see the Wolf Rider Hero Power. He's already at 18, he's already going to die to a Leroy, so he's clearing it. He's giving himself 3 turns. He has 3 turns to win. If he doesn't kill him in 3 turns, he loses. That's generally how this matchup works. What I mean by 3 turns, it's the 8 mana, because that's when you get double. That's when you get the triple Leroy threat. The problem is that Chakki mulliganed his. I mean, not Chakki. Again, I'm not used to seeing Realz playing Miracle. I'm used to him playing Tempo, but this is why I don't think Realz should have actually mulliganed the Auctioneer. If he had the Auctioneer here, he would be sailing to victory right now. Misdirect is actually very, very good. Wolf Rider, Hero Power, Misdirect is probably what we're going to see here. The Leroy Arcane Golem is 10 damage, so that's a pretty big hit. He has one more turn if he doesn't get the Leroy. There's the Gadget Sand, so he almost guaranteed has one more turn. Alright, so we're going to see him take out the 3-1. Now, we should see a Conceal Cold Blood. Conceal, yeah. Now, from Chakki's point of view, I don't think he sees how he wins this from here. I mean, in hand, he has 10 damage in one turn at least. There's the Flare, though. The Flare is going to actually, like, save him this game. Much Flare. And there's the Misdirect. He's dead next turn to Leroy, no matter what. So I think, can you take him down low enough? I don't think you have enough mana for that. Yeah, you do. You can Arcane Golem, run it straight into him, Hero Power, Misdirect. If he attacks with his weapon and hits the 8-4, he loses. If he attacks with the 8-4 and hits himself, he loses. If he hits the Arcane Golem with either, you lose. But alright, so he's going for the anti-Leroy play. These Hunter's Marks are coming in helpful. He really needs to keep that 10 damage combination in hand. In fact, he's got lethal next turn. There's the Leroy. Oh no, don't attack, don't. He's just realized he has his face in his hands right now. Yeah, if he'd played the Loot Hoarder and attacked, he would have misdirected into the Loot Hoarder. And then he could have Leroy, Shadow Step Leroy, and he would have won the game. That's how he loses the game. Misplay equals lose game. And he's realized it now. And that's the win. Yeah, Realz, if you look at him in his portrait there, he's not particularly happy, and I don't think I would have been either. This is one of the reasons why Misdirect is so powerful. Misdirect is not a powerful trap, it just makes your opponent misplay. If you play Misdirect, or just the presence of Misdirect actually is the only thing that gives a deck like Hunter a good not a good matchup, but an even matchup against Warrior Control, for example. Warrior Control, I think, is the biggest example of this, where that deck is supposed to counter Rush Hunter entirely. But the problem is, apart from Ragnaros, all of their win conditions hit really hard. So if you play an explosive, if they attack and it's Misdirect, they lose. So they just can't attack you, and you can mind games people to death with that kind of stuff. And that's exactly, like, what happened there was exactly what Misdirect is designed to do. Misdirect is designed to make your opponent misplay around it. And that's exactly what happened there, and Chakki won the game for that. So it was a very, very weird series. Like, in terms of that game, it was a very, very weird game. We had some, not misplays from Chakki, but odd plays from Chakki, I think is the correct way of saying that. Like, we did not have misplays, we just had really odd plays. And as far as Realz is concerned, apart from, I mean, mulligans were, I think, the major problem there. He mulliganed incorrectly, and also, obviously, the final misplay, which cost him the game. But the mulligans, if he had mulliganed correctly, in my opinion at least, if he had mulliganed correctly and kept the gadget down early, then he would have won that game easily. He would have been able to play it on turn 6 with Conceal, or turn 5 if he had preparation. Which he could have had preparation, obviously, because the mulligans would have been different. But if he had preparation, he would have just played it on turn 5, and as soon as that happens, he wins. He just wins the game, because there was no answer to it. The flare came a couple turns later. There was no answer to that gadget down. So I think mulliganing that way was the actual mistake, and the reason he lost the game was just a small thing. But the mulliganing decisions were the actual mistake there from Realz. Anyway, On to the third and final game, the entire series. So the rest of the thing, Chakki went up 2-1. Then this token druid came out and beat the hunter, which was very surprising, as hunter, its best matchup is against Miracle, and its second best matchup is against token druid. It's ridiculous, because token druid wins by comboing you off with Violet Teacher most of the time. They okay, Violet Teacher, spell, 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 next turn Savage Roar, kill you. But the problem is it takes 2 turns, which means before you can Savage Roar kill you, the hunter just goes Unleash the Hounds, kill you. And it's one of the weirdest combo like stalls that ever happen, because they need to use that, or they just beat you down with really, really small creatures compared to normal, and you run them over. So they need to take a gamble, and it actually paid off in the game that Realz played against Chakki, but normally it doesn't. So anyway, on to the last game of the series. We have Zoo coming up here against Token Druid. I would say that this is slightly favored in the Zoo area of things, just because Token Druid relies on a couple of turns to combo off, and you may not get those turns against Zoo. Although I haven't really played this matchup, so I'm not entirely sure. Now, as far as Realz is concerned, I mulligan the 2 Azure Drakes, and as far as Chakki is concerned, I mulligan the Harvest Golem and the Abusive Sergeant. Harvest Golem is probably at its worst against Druid. He's debating. There's some debating going on here. He may not mulligan that. He's debating mulliganing the Loot Hoarder because of Mortal Coil. I don't think I would, though. Because while he draws a card, so do you. And even if he draws a card, 1 mana tied up early against Zoo is actually pretty useful. He's going to mulligan it, though. Okay, he wants to get a Wrath in his hand. That's a good hand for Realz. That's a pretty good hand for Chakki as well. Not amazing, though. You don't have a Flame Imp. Oh, speak of the devil. The turn 1 Flame Imp answered by the turn 1 Keeper of the Grove. This is a very, very interesting game, and I just bashed my mic. But this is one of the strangest opening plays I think I've seen in a while. Top deck Flame Imp answered by turn 1 Keeper of the Grove. That is probably going to seal the game from there. Now I imagine we're just going to see Voidwalker or Urgent Squire, yeah. Can't play Abusive Sergeant. And this is going to get hero powered, most definitely hero powered. Unless a Wrath is drawn. Yeah, it's getting hero powered. Even if a Wrath was drawn, and I'm hitting my mic. Even if a Wrath was drawn, I think you still use the hero power in that regard. Now this is most likely going to get Abusive Sergeanted down. There's the buff. I think you go Abusive Sergeant and then Direwolf Alpha here. Yeah, he's going for it. Take out the 2-3. 2-3 does too much damage to your board. You just want to get that gone. He's very vulnerable to swipe now. Harvest Golem pass. Yeah, these are pretty obvious plays. Not much to actually talk about. These are very obvious plays for the first couple turns. Power Overwhelming. Interesting. Now, what he's most likely going to do is buff his 2-2. Or, actually, if you buff the 2-2, you get blown out by swipe. But then, if you buff any of the other ones, you also get blown out by swipe. Is he gonna take it out? Yeah, he's playing around swipe right now. But then if he takes it out, he's still getting blown out by swipe, so that is not a good way of playing around swipe. He kind of changed his play mid thought process there. That was weird. Alright, so he's going full anti-swipe. Full anti-swipe. Swipe only takes out 1 creature right now. The problem is that there's a second Keeper of the Grove. The groove has been kept by this thing. Oh, Harvest Golem. Alright, we're going to see life tap Harvest. There is an argument for Knife Juggler there because it kills the 2-4. But then this doesn't die to the 2-4, so. We're probably going to see Druid of the Claw and then Loot Hoarder Defender next turn. Druid of the Claw would actually be a very, very good play here. Could see Druid of the Claw in Taunt would do exactly the same as in Charge, but it's not open to Mortal Coil, it is open to Soulfire. I think I'm fine with it getting Soulfired, so I'd say that Druid of the Claw is the play here. Druid of the Claw in bear form, and then just attack face with the 2/4. I mean, in theory, you could Savage Roar, Hero Power, take out both guys, but that's just a weird play. I mean, let's see, what kind of token list is this? 1 Imp Master, and double Savage Roar? Yeah, double Savage Roar, 1 Argent Commander. It's an interesting variation. I love how he called it Mono Green Overrun. Yeah, there was for anyone who doesn't play Magic, there is a mono green deck in Magic which just plays a lot of creatures and then plays a big spell to buff all of them, and then you kill them in 1 turn. And that is basically what Tokens does. So that's an appropriate name. He's going for the cat. I don't like the cat here, because this gets Mortal Coiled as opposed to Soulfired, and getting it Soulfired is infinitely better for you than getting it Mortal Coiled. Because if he Soulfires, he might discard something very important, and it's also card disadvantage as opposed to card advantage with Mortal Coil. So I didn't like that. And he even gets the RNG. Yeah, that was a bad play overall from Realz. He shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have. Oh, that changes things. Normally, you would have gone Loot Hoarder into Defender, but the Wrath actually changes a lot of things here. Is he still Defendering? I would say Loot Hoarder, Wrath, Hero Power, personally. I'm not sure if I agree with that. He's going to take out the 3/2. Yeah, he's open to Mortal Coil again. These Mortal Coils, man. These Mortal Coils are getting some serious value if he draws them. Oh, Voidwalker, Defender of Argus, take it out. Yeah, this is why I'm not sure putting out the Defender that early was worth it. Because you just got completely blown out. We're probably just going to see the Ancient Allure here. Ancient Allure, draw some cards. You need some answers right now. Nope, he's Hero Powering. And now he plays the Loot Hoarder. Some very confusing plays going on in this game from Realz. For me, at least. Does he attack the 2/4? The Mortal Coils, man, where are they? The Mortal Coil value in this game is ridiculous. There's so much value you could get from Mortal Coils in this game. Life tap first, obviously, because no matter what you draw, you're going to play it with life tap. So life tap first. Almost entirely golden deck from Chakki, by the way. Love the golden deck. He's not life tapping first, so he's planning on playing out his entire hand? Or not? Why didn't he... Like, was he banking on Doomguard there? Did he have lethal with Doomguard? Is that what it was? Yeah, he had lethal with Doomguard. Alright, that makes sense. I was thinking that does not make sense, but no, if he had Doomguard, didn't do the calculation. If he had Doomguard, he would have won the game there. So, yeah, that makes sense. Now, if you're Realz, this is kind of scary. I would say run the Loot Hoarder into the 2/2 and be thankful that it did not get buffed by the Young Priestess. Yeah, that is the play. Run it into the 2/2. Then Ancient of Lore. Draw 2 cards. I mean, not draw 2 cards. Heal 5. Drawing 2 cards is too ballsy at this point. You need Doomguard protection. That's Doomguard protection, but... I mean, what are you dead to if you run out the Druid of Claw? Soulfire's already... one Soulfire's already gone. Doomguard doesn't kill you. nothing kills you actually. Apart from second power overwhelming Doomguard. Does he have enough mana for that? 9, 5, 7, like 8. He does, yeah, so. But then, if you double your health, you're still dead to that. He's really mulling this over. I think he's not really thinking about killing the 2-1, he's thinking about playing the Druidal Claw versus the 2-4. Actually, wait a second. If you play Druidal Claw and you hero power, then you're up to an effective 12 life, which means that you're not dead to the Doomguard thing, and that's literally the only play that can kill you is Doomguard Soulfire. Either Doomguard Soulfire or Doomguard Powerforming. Weirdly enough, putting this in cat form would probably be better. If you put this in cat form, you take out the 2-4, and then you protect yourself from. But no, you're only protecting yourself from powerforming. Yeah, you're still dead to Soulfire. So yeah, play the bear form. Play the bear form, and he's gonna buff it so that you can't go for the Soulfire play. Alright, that makes sense. That was a very interesting play. And I think that's gonna be the game. Gonna buff his guy, Mortal Coil his guy, and hope for something crazy. I think the game's over at this point, though. You can't get past the turn that large. You can't get past the turn that large without Black Knight or Doomguard. And does he just have lethal? Yeah, he just has lethal. So that was a very, very fast ending to that game. There were a couple of really weird plays from Realz, but in the end they worked out. But I'm not sure I agree with a lot of them. But the ending to that ended very, very quickly, and it's something that Tokens tends to do. The actual deck wins very, very quickly because they are playing the double Savage Roar and get no 3. But they are playing the double Savage Roar, so the game ends very, very quickly. As soon as you get down to about 14 life or so, the game is going to end. Anyway, so as to the actual series, it was a very interesting series. There are a couple of misplays here or there on both sides. Although in the case of Chakki, it was more weird plays. Chakki does this a lot, actually. Mechanically, he's a very, very good player. He just makes very, very weird decisions. Like, he doesn't make misplays, he just makes very, very weird plays. So they're not actively worse, they're debatable. Whereas Realz, he still has some mechanics to iron out. And I think he's a very, very, very good player. But obviously, he's on a pro team. But, and he got to Fight Night and such. But I still think he has some mechanical plays to iron out, like his loss against Hunter as Miracle, which should not have happened, and I think the Miracle would have run over pretty much everything. So yeah, there's a couple of mechanical things to iron out for Realz, but besides that, I think he's a very, very good player. He's definitely improved. He's no longer nervous. He's definitely improved over even the course of Fight Night, and he's no longer nervous on sort of a large screen. This is going to make him a better player overall. Going into, so I would say Realz is definitely one of the ones from Mana Grind to watch, because he definitely has developed more as a player recently, and he's become very, very good because of Fight Night. Now, as for anything else, on Thursday, I'm going to be making a video, hopefully with a guest, about the Unleash nerf and also the spoilers we got from Naxxramas. So the Paladin Secret, the Warrior Weapon, and if any other ones are spoiled by the time I record it, that one as well. And then next Saturday I'm going to do my Road to Legend at the moment. I'm going up and down the ladder. I can definitely do it. I'm going up and down the ladder, which is expected. But I've been working on that pretty extensively. So besides that, pretty standard. Now the article for this week that I put out, I think it came out actually yesterday. The article this week, normally it's about a deck that happened, but we only had 3. Or we ended up with 4 actually. One of them appeared after I did the video. So I put that deck in the actual article, but the article itself is talking about the Unleash nerf and what it's going to change realistically. And I played with it a lot post-patch, and I was pretty much correct. So go check that article out if you like. If you go on hearthstone.com, it should be on the front page. Anyway, thank you all for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe. If you have any feedback, just want to talk, put it in the comment section below. As for now, This has been Jotto, signing off.